Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Australian's webinar, Navigating Local Pharmacovigilance in European Countries. Are you meeting all local safety requirements? Before starting, just a couple of things to take into consideration. The webinar will last for 30 minutes. In case you have any questions, please submit them in the chat and we will reply them by email later. We will also send you the presentation per email as well as the link to the recording shortly. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today from the Pharmacovigilance Unit, Laura Eder, Drug Safety Associate Director. Laura has a PhD in biomedical research, as well as a background in biology and biochemistry, and a master's degree in health administration. She holds solid experience in pharmacovigilance audits, medical writing, and in overall pharmacovigilance activities. In today's webinar, she will provide you with a clear and practical overview of local regulations and the roles and responsibilities that need to be navigated in each European country. Our colleague Alicia will talk briefly about Australian safety services.
Thank you, Lydia. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar Navigating Local Pharmacovigilance in European Countries. Are you meeting all local safety requirements? That, as you know, our expert Laura Eder will be hosting. Before turning over to Laura, if you all allow me, I would like to briefly introduce our work here at Asphalion. Asphalion is a leading regulatory, scientific, and safety consultancy firm with a purpose to help pharmaceutical and biotech companies with their projects through whole product lifecycle. Here, we like to say that our clients' projects are our own projects. One of Asphalion's main services is pharmacovigilance. We act as a one-stop shop, offering our expert support from clinical trial stages until the product is on the market, integrated in global context. Asphalion started providing pharmacovigilance services back in 2007, and since then, we have been updating our portfolio of activities according to all new requirements established from safety regulations. Currently, we are offering support in more than 150 collaborations for more than 80 clients. Our PV system is outsourced for more than 20 companies. We have elaborated more than 500 PSURs, ACOs, risk management plans. We perform literature searches for more than 250 APIs, and we perform all these activities according to the highest quality standards thanks to the expertise we have acquired over the years. Moreover, we are proud to offer full European local support. We count with our own validated network of European partners, ASPANET. All these partners help us in all the activities in which local presence is needed. All of our partners are experts in local regulations and have close relationship with health authorities. To end up with, we are proud to announce that as a result of our commitment with digitalization and innovation, we have established 3 artificial intelligence-based digital tools that support us in different activities. ASFA Searches, our tool for local and global literature searches, ASFA Alert, our tool for regulatory intelligence, and ASFA Digimedia, our tool for social media screening. If you would like to receive any further information, do not hesitate to contact us. And now I will hand over to my colleague Laura, and I hope you all enjoy this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alicia, and welcome everybody to this webinar. First, let me show you the agenda. I will start with a brief introduction, then I will provide you a general overview of PV activities to be performed at a local level. Then I want to talk a little bit about how to achieve a successful integration and interaction between local and global PV systems. And then I will provide you key considerations for setting up a local QPPV. I will continue with an overview of national requirements for a local QPPV and conclusions about what we have been talking about during this webinar. At the end, I don't want to leave this webinar without talking a little bit about other non-European countries like UK and Sweden. So let's start. As you know, marketing authorization holders have to have in place a robust PV system to ensure the safety of their products. The QPPV is responsible for establishing and maintaining a global system. The QPPV must be located within the European Union and should be available on a permanent and continuous basis to the marketing authorization holders, local competent authorities, and to EMA. The marketing authorization holders can have marketing authorization around the EU member states. And that means that our local PV requirements and processes at a local level that must be fulfilling, including, for example, the nomination of a local QPPV. Besides, it's important to have into account that those local systems must be integrated into the global organizational structure in order to have a full oversight of the safety profile of authorized medicinal products. Let's see, first of all, an overview of the general PV activities to consider at a local level. As you can see here, some countries require the nomination of a local contact person who will be the contact point to authority. I'm not going to go deeper now in this because I'm going to focus on the role of local QPPV in upcoming slides. So let's continue with the local management of ICSSR, medical information, and PQCs. Well, in case of ICSSRs, the local management will involve the collection of information, first assessment, and follow-up actions. Local medical information management will involve direct response to healthcare professionals or patients who seek information about medication use, efficacy, safety, and other concerns. And regarding PQCs, local management entails investigating those complaints, taking corrective actions if necessary, and reporting them to local authorities if required. Other activity is the local literature monitoring. As you know, in general terms, these searches are mandatory for all products with a marketing authorization, regardless of their commercial status. Therefore, it is expected that literature searches should be started with the submission of the marketing authorization application and be maintained consistently while the authorization remains active. Nevertheless, it is worth mentioning here that there are specific country requirements to have into account. For instance, some countries may require searches in specific local or national journals that are not indexed in the international databases, or have particular timelines for how frequently literature searches need to be conducted. Let's see, for instance, one example, Germany. Germany often requires pharmacovigilance literature searches to include German language journals and databases, and there is an expectation to monitor local literature not just for marketing products, but also for those in clinical trial phase. Other activity is the local regulatory intelligence. This is a dynamic and ongoing process as regulation can change frequently and have a direct impact also on how a company operates within a specific location. Other crucial activity is the local management and implementation of additional risk minimization measures. The local management and implementation of these measures typically involve understanding their requirements, their adaptation to local regulations and languages, the development of materials and tools, and of course, their monitoring and assessment of effectiveness. At a local level, we have to engage with local healthcare professionals, patients, groups, and other stakeholders to ensure they understand and implement the additional risk minimization measure effectively, and of course, that they make necessary updates to these measures based on new safety information or feedbacks from healthcare professionals. Now, let's move to the support during audits and inspections. This is critical. This is critical to demonstrate the effectiveness and compliance of the local PV systems and to maintain the company's availability to market its products. This support requires a thorough understanding of both local regulations and the specifics on the company's PV systems, as well as strong organizational and communication skills to manage the audit or inspection process efficiently. Finally, we have the local PV QMS maintenance. This is vital to ensure that pharmacovigilance activities remain compliant with both local regulations and global standards, and it requires a proactive approach to detect and adapt to changes. So, since the beginning of this webinar, I've been talking about the importance of being compliant between local PV activities, local regulation, and global standards. But how can we achieve successful integration and interaction between local and global PV systems? Well, it is true that there are significant challenges when it comes to combining global processes with local requirements. There are significant time, cost, regulation, and languages requirements that must be considered. Therefore, merging global and local pharmacovigilance operation into a successful integrated approach requires careful planning, clear communication, and strategic implementation. So here I want to show you some of the critical components for ensuring successful integration and interaction between local and global PV systems. These are process harmonization, quality management, effective communication, and signal detection and analysis. So let's start with the process harmonization. Here we focus on SOPs and training. It is important to establish standard operation procedures that align local practices with global expectations, and also to provide comprehensive training to local staff on global PV systems and processes. This allows us to achieve more efficiency procedures. Regarding quality management, here we have audits and continuous improvement. Regarding audits, it is important to conduct regular audits to ensure that both local and global systems adhere to quality standards. And regarding continuous improvement, we have to implement a system for feedback and improvement in order to be able to refine both local and global PV processes. In effective communication, I want to highlight the periodic reconciliations and the collaboration between headquarters and affiliates. The periodic reconciliations facilitate timely and transparent information exchange between local and global teams, and the collaboration between headquarters and affiliates through regular meetings and discussions allow the marketing authorization holder to address challenges and share best practice. At the end, this means improved oversight and monitoring of local activity to drive global compliance. Finally, regarding signal detection and analysis system, it's important to implement systems for the detection of new source information at both local and global levels, and also develop strategies for risk assessment and mitigation that can be applicable across different regions. So this means increased scalability and flexibility to handle safety-relevant information. So now let's focus on key considerations that we have to have in mind when setting up a local QPPV. It's important to take into account that each country may have specific requirements for the QPPV role that must be understood and followed since the beginning. First, we have the timing. From what point local QPPV is required? Within the submission of the marketing authorization application, upon marketing authorization approval, upon the first launch of the product, or in some specific circumstances. Other consideration is the language and the country. Where and how? Is it necessary to speak the local language and have residence in the country? What if the new QPPV resides in the country? May she also act as a local QPPV? We'll see, but there may be exceptions. What about the education? Well, here there is a wide variety of requirements by country. This runs from non or not specified to training PV, to medically qualified, or being a medical doctor or pharmacist. And also, what about the availability? Well, here also some countries require the local QPPV to have 24 hours, 7 days availability for authorities, and some do not, but may require a 24 hours, 7 availability for patients and healthcare professionals. Finally, other key consideration is the role of the deputy. Do we need a deputy local QPPV? Well, in many countries, it's also required a deputy local QPPV who act as backup when the local QPPV is not available. So let's see what is required per country. To begin with, we have to clarify in which country it's truly required to designate a local QPPV. In some countries, the local QPPV appointment is strictly required. Some countries have reserved a possibility to request its nomination when they consider required, and other EU member states has not requires for local QPPV at all. So let's start with the EU countries in which the designation of a local QPPV is required. Well, the majority of these countries have the requirement for local language, 24 hours availability, and residence in the country. So now I want to focus on the extra requirements, and I'm going to go through these countries, starting with the most restrictive and ending with the least. So let's start with Croatia. The Croatian agency requirements are the most strictest in Europe. The local QPPV, according to its education, must be medical doctor, specialized in clinical pharmacology, or a doctor of dental medicine, or a pharmacist, or a master of medical biochemistry, or a doctor of veterinary medicine. It's important to take into account that the person responsible for pharmacovigilance, in this case, if it's not a medical doctor, access to a medical doctor must be available and appropriately documented. What about experience and training? Well, regarding the experience, this person must have at least 2 years of experience in PV or 2 years of experience in her position. The training, this person must have documented training in PV terminology, spontaneous and solicited reporting of adverse reactions, methods of adverse reaction reporting, evaluation of adverse reaction, preparation of ICSRs, PSURs, IMP, and DSURs. Is here a deputy needed? Yes, of course, the deputy is also needed. And another consideration to take into account in Croatia is that the marketing authorization holders appoint one local QPPV for its PV system regarding the medicinal products that have marketing authorization in the Republic of Croatia. Now let's move to Germany. Germany is also very strict regarding the education, experience, and training of the local QPPV. The requirements are equal to those to the EU QPPV. This role is also known in Germany as graduate plan officer. Here also the deputy is required, and this person must have equal qualifications than the EU QPPV and the local QPPV. And other consideration important to take into account is that in Germany, there is no requirement for this role for this person to speak German or be resident of Germany. However, the communications within the agency and the competent authorities is done almost exclusively in the German language. Therefore, it's almost impossible for the graduate plan officer or local QPPV to fulfill his role without being able to speak German. Now let's move to Greece. Well, the Greek authority has stated that the local QPPV in Greece is appointed by the EU QPPV for human medicinal products. This person also must have a degree in medicine, dentistry, biology, biochemistry, chemistry, veterinary medicine, or nursery higher education. According to the experience, this person also must have at least 2 years of experience in PV. Another consideration to take into account is that this person should have also an excellent knowledge of English, not belong to or be related to the marketing or promotion department. And also it's important to have in mind that the local QPPV in Greece is responsible independently and in parallel with the marketing authorization holder. What about France? Well, in France, the local QPPV must be a medical doctor or pharmacist. Here in France, according to the experience, it's not stated the years of experience needed, but the legislation said that this person must have experience in PV. Here about the timing, very interesting. The appointment of a local QPPV in France must be made as soon as the company uses a medicine. Regarding the deputy, here in France, there is not a requirement to have a deputy, but it is necessary to provide a documented backup system when this local QPPV is absent. Other important consideration to take into account in France is that In France exists another role, which is known as responsible pharmacist, and it's important to know that they can be one and the same person, but they are not the same roles. The responsibilities are different. Let's move now to Hungary and Netherlands. What about Hungary? Well, here the local QPPV is only needed if the EU QPPV is outside Hungary. Regarding the timing, the legislation said that the appointment in Hungary must be done with the launch of the product. What about the deputy? Well, here the decree does not establish the requirement of having a deputy, and it said that is determined for the marketing authorization holder. Other consideration, the decree in Hungary does not establish the requirement of 24 hours availability, so this is an exception. But also this is determined by the marketing authorization holder. What about Netherlands? When in Netherlands, also regarding the education, it is required to be medical qualified or have access to a medical qualified persons. Such as person must be this qualification must be documented. And also regarding experience and training, this person must have adequate qualifications on PPE, experience and training. What about the timing? Well, she or he should be appointed at the moment that the marketing and authorization holder will market a product in the Netherlands. And regarding the deputy, the local legislation also states that this is needed a good backup procedure in place in case of an absence. Now let's talk about Czech Republic and Slovakia. Here I have merged both because the same person can act as local QPPV for both. Specifically, the local PV person in Slovakia must have a good knowledge and skills of pharmacovigilance issues, must be able to communicate in Slovak and Czech language, and this person can be out of Slovakia, but pharmacovigilance activities must have to be applied in Slovakia. Specifically for Czech Republic, this person must be able to communicate in Czech and Slovak language, be contacted and also be contactable on phone number with a Czech country calling code. Cyprus and Poland, I combine them because the requirements are very similar. Regarding the educations, well, these local QPPVs must be a qualified healthcare professional, biologist or chemist. And regarding the training, it is stated that they must have received appropriate training in PV. Belgium, Portugal, Spain, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, and Latvia also share some requirements regarding experience and training. And all this local legislation, it states that this local QPPV must have adequate qualifications on PV, both experience and training. Other specific consideration per country, well, Portugal, very important. In Portugal, the nomination is within the submission of the marketing authorization dossier. In Luxembourg, knowledge of French, German, English, or Luxembourgese is needed to communicate with the national stakeholders. And in Latvia, the local QPPV is mandatory, unless the EU QPPV resides and works in Latvia. So let's move now to the countries in which the local QPPV may be required. Let's start with Austria. In Austria, there are no specific requirements for the local PV person in Austria. So the marketing authorization holders can appoint this person in a voluntary basis. And this is highly unlikely to be requested by the authorities. In Denmark, it's similar because the Danish authority reserves the right to request the marketing authorization holders to appoint a representative. It's important to say here that no marketing authorization holders has yet been asked to appoint a contact person in Denmark. What about Finland? Well, Finland also, the authority has the authority to request the appointment of a local QPPV. If the marketing authorization holder does not nominate a local QPPV, all communication related to ICSR will be forwarded to the EU QPPV. And in case the local QPPV in Finland is requested, this person this person does not need to have a specific medical degree, but it could be beneficial to have knowledge on PV and regulatory obligations. Here we have also Malta, Slovenia, Lithuania, and Romania. Regarding Malta, again, there are no specific requirements in the legislation. It is not mandatory to appoint a local QPPV as long as the QPPV is based in the European Economic Area. Unless specifically request, it is prerogative of each company to decide on the nomination of this person. And if such contact person is requested, this person may or may not be medically qualified. As you can see here, this is very flexible. What about in Slovenia? More or less the same. It is optional, it's not mandatory. The authority reserves the right to require the local QPPV in individual cases. But when it is requested, this person must have here, yes, a degree in medicine, in pharmacy or veterinary medicine, and must be based in Slovenia or a company established in the country. Lithuania and Romania shares the same requirements. The national competent authorities could request the nomination, but it's highly unlikely to be requested. And here there are no specific requirements for this person. Let's move now to the EU countries in which the designation of a local QPPV is required in certain circumstances. Here we have two countries, one is Estonia, another one is Italy. Regarding Estonia, by default, local QPPV is not required. But an Estonian-speaking local QPPV is required in cases where prescribers of medicinal products need to be informed about the safety risk associated to the products. These include direct communication to healthcare professionals and material related to additional risk minimization measures in Estonia. What about Italy? Well, in Italy, it's not mandatory. There is not a requirement to appoint the local QPPV in Italy, but it is mandatory for the QPPV or the local QPPV to register with the National PV database, which contains all information in Italian. So at the end, in practice, if the QPPV does not speak Italian, it will be necessary to appoint a local QPPV. Now let's move to EU countries in which the designation of a local QPPV is not required. Here we have Iceland, Ireland, Norway, and Sweden. Here, the designation of the local QPPV is not required because the presence of a QPPV in the EEA region is considered satisfactory. So, as conclusion of this part, we have seen that establishing and maintaining local pharmacovigilance operation in European countries require a comprehensive understanding of both EU-wide and national regulations. Companies must ensure that their pharmacovigilance systems are robust, compliant, and adaptable to the nuances of each country requirements. Key points to consider include adherence to UK legislation, understanding local legal frameworks, managing language barriers, appointing appropriate local pharmacovigilance contacts if applicable, and maintaining open communication with the national competent authorities. Also, ensuring accurate and timely adverse drug reaction reporting, preparing for national inspection, and investing in continuous staff training are crucial for the effective management of pharmacovigilance activities. So at the end, by prioritizing these considerations, companies can contribute to the safety of the medicinal products and the well-being of patients across Europe while fulfilling their regulatory obligations. So, we are finalizing this webinar, but I don't want to leave without talking a little bit about other non-EU countries that will be of your interest. These are UK and Switzerland. So let's start with UK. As you know, in UK, we have the role of the UK QPPV. So the marketing authorization holders in UK, whether covering the whole of the UK or just Northern Ireland or Great Britain, must have permanently and continuously at its disposal a UK QPPV operating and residing in the UK or EU. But it's important to have into account that when the QPPV is not based in UK, a national contact person for PV must be appointed who is based in the UK and reports to the EU QPPV. Also, the details of this national contact person, when must be appointed, has to be notified to the MHRA. What about the education and the training of the UK QPPV? Well, they are similar to the EU QPPV. This person must be appropriately qualified, have knowledge of EU and UK PV requirements, and experience in PV. Is it needed a deputy in UK? Well, there is no requirement to appoint a deputy, but the regulation states that for periods of extended absence greater than 1 month, it is expected that another individual is assigned as the national contact person, and their details shall be notified to the MHRA with 2 weeks of the change. Other consideration or legal obligation that is important to know regarding UK. Well, it's important that to note that the UK QPPV requirements, roles and responsibilities, as I mentioned before, are very similar to the EU QPPV. Also, this person must establish and maintain a PV system for the UK authorized products. And here we have also the UK PSMF. The UK PSMF must describe the global PV system and reflect the global availability of safety information for the UK authorized products. All the PSMF that cover the UK authorized products also be registered with the MHRA. Also, the UK QPPV should have access to the reports of suspect adverse reactions and the PSMF for the UK products. And also, this individual should be available to facilitate responses to PV queries raised by the MHRA, including via inspection. To finalize, we have Switzerland, the card in Switzerland, and the role of the local QPPV. It's important for you to know that the marketing authorization holders are required to designate a local QPPV who will be responsible for fulfilling the reporting requirements related to adverse drug reactions. The marketing authorization holders must inform the Swissmedic of the name and address of this person upon request. What about the 24 hours availability? Well, this is an exception. The local contact person in Switzerland or a deputy must be contactable at least during business hours on Swiss working days. But it is recommended that the marketing authorization holders organize an on-call service to ensure that a qualified person is reachable at all times in case of emergencies. Regarding the residence, the local QPPV in Switzerland does not need to reside in Switzerland. And regarding the education and experience, this person must have extensive knowledge of PV and so be able to provide relevant documentation and certificates on request, and must maintain her knowledge through continuous professional development. I want to finish with other consideration. Regarding the local QPPV in Switzerland, this person does not necessarily have to be an employee of the marketing authorization holder, but his or her responsibilities shall be set out in writing. And also, Switzerland has 3 official languages, and all the communication with the agency will be in these 3 languages, which are German, French, and Italy. So now we have finished. Thank you all for attending this webinar. I hope it has been useful for all of you. As we have said at the beginning, if you have any doubt, question, or any request, please feel free to contact us. We'll be very happy to help you. So thank you very much and have a good evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. And thank you to all the attendees. We will send you a presentation shortly, and you can still send us your questions anytime at info@asfalion.com. Have a nice afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.